Man Travis. Magic Talk.
Someone who's got a presence like no man that I know is Harold Hillman, who's an executive coach with the Sigmoid Curve Consulting Group. And I can say that because you are right here.
I am here.
Woo!
Good morning, Roman.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Now, hey, you brought some food in as well. It's very kind of you to feed the troops. You know how to get to a man's heart, right? With food. Yeah.
I was down at the new place, Commercial Bay, and they had Best Ugly bagels down there. So I just picked up a few extra sandwiches to say thank you.
You know, coming from the States, we don't really know what bagels are here. Bagels in the US are like real bagels.
Real bagels, that's right.
Having a real presence in anything is important. Is it important to have a presence that's respected or liked, or just having a presence?
They tend to correlate in terms of being respected and liked. So there is a positivity and a civility often associated with presence. You might be in a room with someone who's cursing and foul, and of course, everybody can see them and hear them, but their energy is actually repelling, or it's an off-putting energy, as opposed to a person who has presence. When they walk in the room or when they start to talk, you really are drawn in. So there's a sense of a compelling energy associated with presence. I do make the point, Roman, that sociopaths often have strong presence. It's part of their game, if you will. But the difference between positive presence and negative presence is the consistency factor. Whereas a person with real presence is genuine, authentic, and so they give you a same experience, as opposed to someone who might be a sociopath who can morph on a dime very quickly to get whatever it is that they're looking for. So typically there is a strong sense of character, civility, and poise.
Yeah, you're dealing with leaders all the time. You're dealing with people who aren't leaders.
Yes.
What for you defines a good leader, and what is good presence? I mean, Saddam Hussein had a presence, Adolf Hitler, Donald Trump,
right.
You know. So
that's right.
What makes a good presence?
I often, in working with executives, I often make the point that it's hard to have presence if you aren't present. And so there is a sense of connection. There's a connection associated with a person who has presence. Some people, their energy is they may have presence, but their energy is a bit disconnecting. And so they are like Donald Trump, or someone who is perhaps larger than life, but very often that energy is off-putting. And then it's hard to connect with someone who doesn't bring their whole self to the conversation, or they may be in the room with you, but they aren't there. And so presence really requires you to master this thing called connection, where people find themselves just drawn into whatever you're talking about, how you're expressing yourself, and those types of things make a big difference.
I just did something then which I realised removed my presence. I looked away from you, and I see that with leaders sometimes. You're trying to make a point, you're having a mid-year review or something, and they're busy checking the next email. Is it that authenticity, that actually being present literally helps, doesn't it? It helps to get respect and engagement. And
it does. We talked last week about the downsides of open space and in the work environment, and the fact that very often it is hard to be present with another person because I think the average was 56 interruptions every day. And so sometimes you have to really carve out the space and the time, particularly around important conversations. I just wanted to emphasize that sometimes we think about presence as being a big energy. And certainly if you're on a stage talking to an audience of 500 people and you want to reach those people at the very back of the room, you do have to project a sort of a strong energy, perhaps be bigger than you normally are. But sometimes you might be in a conversation, to your point, with another person, and you may pull your energy in a bit more to give that person some space to actually connect as well. So it's not necessarily about this person who's shiny and big and everybody turns to it's more about the ability to connect with people and influence how they think, how
Yeah.
they feel, and how they do their work, particularly in a work context.
I was just thinking about that. Like in a really effective workplace, often the lead is quite corporeal. They come and go. You don't see them all the time.
That's
But
right.
their presence lingers because of the attitude that they instill in a workplace as well.
It really is. I often say to leaders, be purposeful when you walk into a room. Be purposeful when you walk into a meeting. I was a military officer, and because we were in the uniform all day and being saluted constantly and being called sir or ma'am, and people stand up when you walk in the room, so you are real mindful of the impact of your presence, and if anything, try to put people at ease. So there's that term in the military when an officer says at ease, as opposed to in the corporate world. I've served as a corporate executive as well, and sometimes we are a bit lackadaisical, not as purposeful in knowing that every word matters, and that when we walk into a room or when we're at a table with the team, it does matter that you are there, that you're trying to really encourage people to bring their voice and their perspective, and most importantly, that they sense a real sense of conviction on your part in terms of what you are asking them to follow you to do.
Are you born with having a good presence? Can you work on this? Can you help people build a stronger presence?
There's a belief that some people have that X factor. I went to a party 2 weekends ago, a dinner party. Friends invited me to their friends, and I hadn't met this family before. And this 11-year-old kid, that's their son, named Ted, comes up to me. And he sits down and he introduces himself and he begins to ask me questions about where I grew up, where I was born, how I came to New Zealand. And then he asked me what I thought about Black Lives Matter. And I just thought, this is an 11-year-old kid born with presence. Most people develop it. It is something that you develop working both on your inner self, and so becoming self-aware, really grounded in some strong values, a person who's self-confident and authentic. So confidence and authenticity tends to correlate. And then there are some things about the external person, and that is, it helps to be healthy.
Yeah.
When you have presence, it's really, it doesn't work if people are more concerned about your wellness. Positive image in terms of how you present, respectful, in terms of how you dress.
It all goes
those
to
types
Harold.
of things.
Harold, let's catch up with us again next Sunday. I really appreciate you coming. And Harold Hillman, who's our executive coach from the Sigmoid Curve Consulting Group. Up next is the political panel. This week it's Mitch Harris and Ben Thomas. Hey, thank you for the food, by the way. That's yum!
Magic news and sport with West City Suzuki and the new Bolino from 20,750 plus on-roads at West City Suzuki.